people listening, and the show's on. The live stream just started. I'll be sending out the links here in just a minute. But yeah, super excited for today's show.
Excellent. And we already have, Kevin's going to grab the mic. That's exciting. Kevin is our kind of fearless leader in a certain way because he is the founder of the Startup Circle. And the Startup Circle's really become something very exciting. Lots of people. I'm just going to say this one thing before I give you the mic, Kevin, but I once uh, put together one of our shows, and I forgot to connect it to the Startup Circle, and we had a fraction of the audience. So the Startup Circle really, really, really matters. There's a great community there. I actually talked to Christelle yesterday because we both might be working with someone in different ways. And this really is a community. Kevin, you really created something very special.
Yeah, the Startup Circle, it's an incredible community, and I love where it's going. I mean, we've been able to, build outside of it. We've got Timo with the website building. We got you guys teaching. We got, the power of spaces, which is really has been the main factor of being able to scale at the level as it has. I mean, 3,400 members, that's not a small feat, especially when we consider that most of these guys are entrepreneurs, CEOs, content creators, people who are all interested in, innovators as a whole. So, being able to get together, have these spaces, and for you guys to run this AI space, I mean, it's incredible. One of my favorite parts about, this AI space that the two of you are hosting is the daily updates that we're getting with the news being shared, with how the world is changing. And, for myself personally, I use AI every single day. And by being able to follow AI and, its tracks and where it's taken, I think it's very important to really keep up to date and your knowledge of what's going on with AI as well. But yeah, I love this community so much. I love what you guys are doing, and on top of that, being able to go off platform and live stream the whole thing to more viewers, I think. Excuse me, I think it's an incredible feat. So, yeah, thank you guys so much, you and AI John, for just being an active member, keeping up, and then for the listeners as well, because without the listeners, we wouldn't have a community to begin with as well. And to have people coming back consistently just shows that we're not only able to grow, but we're able to bring people back and really have, that solid interest in it. So thank you guys so much. I'm gonna stop talking. I got a little bit of cleaning to do otherwise, but I'll be here in the next minute or so. I'll start writing some notes down. So thank you guys once again.
Well, thank you, Kevin, and Andy, you got your mic open a little bit. There's a little sound coming through. I just want to say that Mr. Vladimir of Vladimir Robots is here, and hopefully he'll grab the mic. Love to hear from him, as well as Jonathan was here, but then he bolted. Maybe he was having some issues. Then there's Jordan, and then there's Laugh a Lot, the one who's really putting out a lot of emojis right now. The Art Model 2023, which is great. We had and Freeman, of course, and Guru Dana. We don't have the troll here right now, but hopefully our house troll will be coming back at some point. He was here yesterday and bringing in a lot of humor, and it was we really enjoy that. And Andy and I had a wonderful meeting right before we got here, and we are developing some very exciting things with this show. We're going to look at as a place for solving problems. I think we're going to maybe try explore doing certain things certain days of the week. So one thing that if anybody here knows somebody who has a business or is owner of a business and they want a platform where they use AI and they want to solve people's problems, we are definitely this is this place to do it. And also outside the show or within the show, we can we can show people how they can solve their problems through the product. And we can do this again and again and again. And I think that it would be really good because really the reason why people show up here is because we are all using AI on a daily basis, and the subject matter is so big and it's moving so fast that it's very hard to handle all of it on your own. but by having a community like ours, and mentioning Andy and our community, we do have newsletters, so please sign up. We have the AI Biz Hour community, and if you go to my account, you'll see the AI Biz Hour community. You will see the our newsletter, and the newsletter is going to be filled with action-packed stuff. We have a really high click-through rate because it's got wonderful information. And please follow Andy. Andy has 40x50.com and his consulting company, and Andy's newsletter as well. Also CEO of Your Life. Andy has been a speaker. He has worked all over the world with billions of dollars worth of projects. And Andy is very, very, very well seasoned in the business world at a very high level. So Andy, do you want to grab the mic and shepherd us in a certain direction while I reconstitute myself?
Reconstitute, meaning water, or you need to take 2 minutes? Grab the mic. You know what? I'd really like to hear what Kevin and Guru, how are you guys actually using AI every day? I know how I did it. I've talked about it 100 times, but how do you guys use AI? What kind of things are you using it for? And what's the problem you're really using AI to solve?
Guru Dana.
Go ahead, Guru. Guru Dana, go ahead. Kevin,
Guru Dana. Okay, Guru Dana is my spiritual name that my friend, the Tibetan Tulku, gave to me. He says, "You are Guru Dana." But my name is Gordana or Goga. But I'll go as a Guru Dana. Well, talking about AI, it's very interesting. Look, I was going recently through a program for Python developer, and the instructor was, if we had some question, he would always say, "Well, ask ChatGPT. Ask ChatGPT." And I'm like, "Oh, come on." So anyway, I am a little bit behind. I studied cybernetics a long time ago. I got a degree in 1986. According to Russian scientist Alba Lerner, okay, we learned at that time Fortran and COBOL, but I have not been in IT. However, I'm very fascinated about artificial intelligence and being consultant. What I loved about this space, John, strategic consultant for visionaries. I consider myself visionary. That's really interesting title. I really would love to be in this space. I find you all amazing. I also feel that Mr. Vladimir has so much to teach us. So I will be quiet now. Thank you for the space.
Do you use AI on a daily basis? Have you started using it yet to solve anything, Guru Dana?
Yeah, I'm trying actually, and I would like to really use it more in creative writing. I published one book, Prayer for Love. I'm working on another book, Intuitive Cosmic Intelligence, and I would like to really use. I was looking for a good program to help me with that. I can speed up the process, my thought process. Maybe you can help me about that.
One thing I would like to talk with you for a minute about is the level of esoteric intelligence in these AIs is pretty astounding. And I was wondering, Guru, if you have gone down the rabbit hole with any of the LLMs, with any of your spiritual knowledge, and see what they're aware of in terms of any type of esoteric information that you currently have.
Okay, I'm a macroeconomist and aspiring humanitarian. I dealt with the global markets, mostly in finances, and I was in Wall Street mid-90s, forex trader, but I left. I didn't like the volatility. I didn't like the scene, so I left it. I was on my own, kind of independent. So I worked on various projects. I mean, you name it. So my latest interest in artificial intelligence, when I started actually idea on writing book Intuitive Cosmic Intelligence, I touched the subject of artificial intelligence, and I have my I do my own research about that. So I also had an accident that kind of injured my spine, and I seeked how am I going to be helped about that, and I found a surgeon, doctor in U.S. who have been to other dimensions where he was taken by teleportation. And what he told me about this technology that's so much ahead of us, that can completely rejuvenate my body. Not only that, I can rejuvenate my youth, basically, where I can take off like 30 years of my life. So I'm really looking very much, and I know he's telling the truth. I know it. I can detect it. I have been meditating since 1998. I was initiated by Himalayan Master. I was meditating with 2,000 people from 50 countries on issues on humanities and so on. 20 years ago, we were talking about stuff, what's going on today and what will be going on and so on. So most important part of my life has been esoterics and research and meditating, basically, on meditation, light and sound. However, I feel I have my purpose. I have things to do other than just meditation. And I feel I am the force. And I'm very happy to be in this space with you guys. It seems like you're all very, very highly intelligent. I hope also very intuitive. But I would like to be quiet unless you have certain questions to ask me.
I was just going to ask that, or I would suggest that to talk like when you were saying that you should ask the LLM how to use the LLM. Go ask the LLM about some of your esoteric understanding and see what they're aware of, because I've been very surprised, and I think you might be, and I would love to hear you come back after you've done that a bit and to see what your take is on the LLM's knowledge of the unknown, the mysteries. So Jordan or Andy or CPR, unless you want to follow up, Guru.
Okay, so is there somebody else here who can actually have a conversation with me and we can have a spontaneous conversation about it?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I can hear you.
I can hear her. I think you're having issues, AI John. I don't think you can hear them speaking.
I can hear them. I'm sorry, I had to step out for a second, but I can hear you, Guru Dana, and CP and Kevin and Jordan. John, can you not hear us? Can you hear me, John?
No, I can hear you now. I just was curious. But yeah, I thought we were having a conversation, so that's why I was a little taken back. But
Yeah, in a way, you know what Guru is saying. She's right about the other dimensions. What she's talking about. You know, there's. I'm from India. I live in India. You know, there's a lot of spirituality things. You know, I've seen people. I've seen a peer, you know, vanishing in thin air. You know, just like that. And he used to fly. He died like in 2008. I personally saw him vanishing right in front of me.
So CP, when you say he, maybe you could be a little specific. And also, this is the AI Biz Hour, so if we can kind of keep it on topic. I do love the esoteric. I love the mysteries, but you know,
Yeah.
I do wait for the right time and the right place and all of that. I do appreciate your nice.
Exactly. You know, I was just going through the conversation, what Guru said, and regarding the AI things, you know, AI is an important thing, you know, right? In nowadays, everything, you know, it's getting, you know, the banks, airports, and a lot of shopping malls.
So CP, do you use AI at all, or do you only speak to it?
Not really, not really. Only, if I have to go to a bank, some banks have started
Oh,
using a
so
machinery,
CP
something like that.
So I need to pay attention to the people that come here on a regular basis and that really spend a lot of time here on the space. So if you can't kind of focus on the AI conversation, then I'm going to have to bring you down. And unless, well, I'm not going to bring you down because you're very elevated, but I'm going to have to take you off the speaking role. So I hope I don't want to be a hard ass about it, but if you can, add to the conversation a little bit, or what do you want to say? But I know that Guru was talking about meditation and all that. If you want to talk about what she said directly, that'd be cool. Otherwise, we'll go to someone else. How's that?
It's okay. It's okay. You carry on. I would love to listen to you guys. What we talk about AI at the biz.
Cool.
Yeah, typically on Fridays, we kind of loosen it up a little bit and kind of talk about anything. So if you come back tomorrow, and this is for everybody, come back tomorrow, we'll do a AAA Friday, ask about anything, because I do think that there's an application that you can use AI to create meditative pathways, meditative streams, a meditative focus or a structure or a program. I believe that you can use AI to give you that kind of answer as well. But come back tomorrow, we'll go down that rabbit hole with you.
That's great. Thank you so much. That's kind of, I need a little bit assistance because I'm stormed with ideas for creativity, and I like to also do consulting and help other people because we are kind of front runners of it, and people have no idea what's ahead of us. That's what I see. Like an economist, macroeconomist, I look and study everything, and I'm very, very happy to be at your space and learn from you.
And Guru Dana, I have a question. So you were saying that you can, or you've had moments kind of seeing the future or visions. What do you, everybody's a little curious where we're going on this wild ride. Do you have any insights about where we're going to be in the next 5 to 10 years, or are your visions much further down the road?
Well, actually, yes, it's a kind of more further down the road, I would say. It's all really, it's nothing is set in stones. It's all about collective consciousness of the masses, really. It's really that affects the energy. So the wave is going certain way, towards really global awakening, and this wave cannot be stopped, but there are people who specifically came to this life, reincarnated this life with knowing their purpose and knowing there would be front runners or idea people to wake up the rest of the masses in a way. So look, we meditated around the world, and we were connecting with each other, and kind of like, the subtle energies are very powerful. Still waters run through the mountains, it's like that. So I think it's very exciting future ahead of us, even though it's a very turbulent, and currently people might, see dark future, disasters, chaos. But look, everything is growing and changing, and universe is constantly orgasmic, and it's constantly being reborn. And so basically, we are in a process of awakening and realization, first of all, of ourselves, who we are. Artificial intelligence is there to assist us really in the process. Many people fear, artificial intelligence, if the robots take over, and then they will be smarter than we are. Yes, they're predicting robots to be smarter than we are by 2030. It's like, but creativity, human creativity, is the key. Yeah.
I love what you're saying, and yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. Please continue to come back, and I really want to hear how how uh, how things are going with you. But yeah, you got to stay positive no matter what. There's no other choice. Your thoughts kind of create reality, so you might as well have a positive one. But I really, really appreciate your contribution today, Guru Dana. That's awesome. I see that that the Jack of all trades is here, and I would love to hear what's going on with you. I know that you have been using AI for many things, and where are you now with the AI? And what problems are you solving with it? And what's going on?
Hey, John, Andy, Kevin, Jordan, CP, Guru Dana, that was very interesting. I see Juan Carlos is here too. Yeah, it's been a busy week. And I had a thought experiment when Guru was talking there that, from the metaphysical side of things, people, often talk about kind of cosmic connections. And it would be an interesting thought experiment to have a group of people join in on an LLM and put in their thoughts, their feelings, their connections into a single LLM and see what kind of results come out of that. When you had essentially like an isolated thought experiment of people sharing their connections with each other, how does an LLM interpret that? So if you're going to do something on Friday, that might be, some kind of interesting use case study. But, my week, I was at a trade show in New York. It was Interfex. It was for the pharmaceutical industries. And I was particularly interested in what companies were doing with AI and agentic AI. And new ones are popping up left and right. And so I had some opportunities to talk to them about how they're using it for marketing, how they're using it for, RPA, so robotic process automation. And that really seemed to be the key. So there's a few startups that were there at the show. In that space around regulations and how pharmaceutical companies have to follow, the FDA compliance related issues. And a lot of the companies are focused on that. They're focused on process documentation and validation of the process steps that are taken. And it was interesting. So I was talking to a futurist from one of the companies, and I would say about 80% of the folks that I talked to were focused on using AI to produce documentation, which I thought was somewhat rudimentary, right? Those are the basic steps. Using agentic AI to predict failure modes and where you might not be compliant seems more valuable to me. But yeah, it was a very interesting discussion. And on the marketing side, John, you and I talk a lot about different tools and methods that could be employed. And I got some pretty positive feedback on automating those processes and simplifying, the marketer's life, if you will. And yeah, so it was a good show. And probably share some more with you offline too.
Awesome. Andy, would you like to follow up with some questions? I got some questions, but do you have any
No,
thoughts?
go ahead, John.
So that must have been super exciting to be at a trade show. You're there with people from many companies that they're so what out of the people that you spoke to, what is the level of interest in AI, then actual engagement with AI, and where do you feel that the industry that you were at, I guess is manufacturing, it was the trade show, where are they in terms of implementation, and where are they looking to start to solve these problems internally, externally? Are they in the awareness phase, just trying to figure out what's possible?
Yeah, it's a great question. And what I really see is the challenges seem to be around digital adoption. This reminds me of the journey of Industry 4.0, where, people who are not technical don't know what to make of it. So you still, you still get a lot of blank stares when you ask them about AI and what they're doing, and you might get, oh yeah, I did X, Y, Z on ChatGPT, and that's really the extent of it. And then you've got your forward-leaning companies, a few individuals. I think of, the group here, that comes to your space. We're the forward-thinking individuals that are going to drive the startups that are going to, that have the opportunity to win over the market and create the new ideas. So there were very few companies doing that. Maybe out of say 1,000 companies that were represented here, there were maybe 4 that were actually implementing AI in a way that used multimodal language models, protecting IP, but using agentic workflows to do that. And I will say that they garnered quite a bit of interest. Those booths were crowded with people, and so people were definitely interested. But it's a pioneer's journey right now. It reminds me of the Wild West. If you got on a wagon train and headed out west to plot your new stake in the land, that's us. And we're those pioneers right now. And we need to educate people to move this forward. Otherwise, I see a lot of resistance. People don't understand. They don't know what to do. They don't know who to look to. And I think this X community is literally the leading edge of the spear. So, one of the things I'd like to see this group here talk about is how do we go about growing that space and getting people to do digital adoption and share those ideas with each other.
Well, I just want to share with everybody, my great-grandmother came out to Palm Springs in 1911, and she was a mechanic and had the first gas station in 1914, and she is one of the pioneers of the town. So I do have that spirit within me. And yeah, there was so many opportunities in California in 1913. You couldn't believe it. Or I guess you could. But so what is your take? How do we, because I think you weren't here earlier. We were talking about, we had a discussion offline in terms of using this space as a incubator one day a week, where companies could come and bring their product or talk about their product, and so we can show how it can solve people's problems. How would we, based on what you saw at the trade show, how do we bring those companies in that are doing, those 4 companies out of 1,000, and what do you see? How do we make the most out of this space? Because people really care. They're showing up on a regular basis. I believe that this is a significant place, if only just to document this journey and archive what's happening kind of day to day based on the world around us, and people like you coming in from the wilderness, bringing reports here so we can kind of, we're at the what is it? Captain Spock's, the center of the, not Captain Spock, Captain Kirk's, Star Trek, the center there, whatever, where part of the universe. I'm going sideways a little bit here, but so, like, do you understand my point? Like, number one, how can we bring companies that, like the 4 that you met at the trade show, how do we get them here on this space so they can talk about how they're going to solve problems with AI? And then also, where, how do you believe that we can get companies here to help the listeners understand how they can solve problems? Do you have any ideas on that, or am I just talking?
Well, so, the first thing I'm going to say is going to sound, a bit obvious, which is, it's really about relationships. So, like, John, you and I talked offline. That's how we got to know each other. When I was here in New York, I almost hooked up with Alisher from Tech in Schools, and Ross was just a little too far away, but I'm going to see if maybe he can meet me on the way back. But, I think it's a great point you brought up. How do we get people into this space? So I'll take on the call to action and reach out to those folks and see if I can't introduce them here and to share their journey, because they're out there doing it, right? They were executing. They don't have it all figured out yet, but they're out there at a trade show, throwing themselves out there. And the other aspect of this that I think is important is there's a lot of people in this space that are doing activities to start a business and share thoughts with each other. And I think what we have to get past is, you know, you don't want to share your secret sauce, right? But at the same time, if we present an opportunity to share enough where others can comment, make, you know, ask questions about, you know, your specific use case and how you're going about it so that we're actually helping each other out. I see a lot of value in that if people are willing to do it. So we have to find that space between protecting your idea and, you know, sharing enough where people can actually collaborate on some of these solutions together. So those are my thoughts on it. I wouldn't say I have an answer for that yet, other than us getting to know each other better so that we are confident that we can trust each other to share that kind of information. And then you would get the brainstorming and the collaboration to help each other build.
That's the, you know, you bring up a lot of really good points. And just to let everybody know, Jack of all trades is been working in manufacturing for a number of years. If we want to just kind of give a background, just so people understand what authority you speak from. One other question, if you could do that after when I ask you the question, and then answer the question. How much those 4 companies out of 1,000? Do you believe that they can do what they say they're doing? Are they kind of finding out? Because we all know if you work with AI on a regular basis, that sometimes it's not always consistent, and you want to start with small problems. How do you feel that they're over their skis, that they're right on target? Are they 100% confident they can deliver what they promise?
Well, I think, as you know, like the percentage of businesses that actually survive in a startup phase are pretty low. But I was impressed with what they were putting out there. And, you know, they had a solid use case. The industry needs that kind of support. It was interesting because there were a lot of companies doing what they do, you know, this validation documentation and support for big pharma companies. You know, big pharma companies have a lot to lose. If you remember the baby formula scandal, it essentially was a company that didn't follow procedure and they shut down the whole plant. I think it was Abbott. But so there's a lot of companies that do it manually, and these guys are using AI to do it. And so there's a solid use case in place. It's just a question of how well they implement it and sell it, right? And it was pretty impressive. They had a big team there, probably 10 or 12 people. They had a technical expert to go into details about how the models work, how they're protecting their data lake, how they train their models. So they're very knowledgeable. And I think if, you know, it really comes down to those use cases. If you have a solid use case that others aren't providing, and you're doing your due diligence to do it accurately and with security, so that your systems can't be, you know, hacked or whatever, or prompt injections put in to cause your system to go sideways. You know, I think if you do it responsibly, you're going to be successful, provided you have that solid use case. And then just real quick, because I know you got some hands. My background, I've got 35 years experience in industrial automation. I started in distribution. I went into pharma, doing system integration. So that's programming robotics and servo systems and electrical design. And then I went to work for one of the world's largest packaging companies, doing liquid filling for companies like Heineken and Ambev. And those are, you know,
So Jack of all
$5 million
trades, this is actually a
machines.
great opportunity. Could you
Sure.
explain to everybody the difference between machine learning and robotic automation, because they don't tend to know the difference?
Yeah, that's a great point you just brought up. Yeah, so you know, obviously, you know, most of you know that machine learning has been around for a very long time. And is that ours? 137? Okay. Sorry, I'm getting on a bus, guys.
Well, while he's getting on the
one
bus, I'll
second.
take my hand. Machine learning is very automatic. The AI is doing. It's figuring out how to do it on its own. But with a lot of the robotics and automation stuff, you might get a
Crow,
human
crow, crow, crow,
guy.
crow, 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 crow. There's somebody that has their hand up before you. You know, you gotta kind of, I'm kind of strict in the room a little bit these days, just because there's a lot of people here that are coming here on a regular basis. So for thinking of them, I just want to make sure that things go a little bit smoothly. I want to let Jack of all trades finish what he's saying, but also I need to get to Jordan before you chime in. Do you understand where I'm coming from, Crow?
Yeah, man. Yeah. No problem.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So just to finish up. So, you know, in the robotics, robotic automation and manufacturing, all those systems are proprietary. So, you know, whether it's Fanuc Robotics, Epson, Kawasaki, that does a lot in automotive, each one of them has their own proprietary programming language. But underneath it all, JSON can actually communicate to all these robots. When you talk about AI and using AI to automate processes, that's a little different. So you can actually have AI use a vision model, do deep learning, which has been around for years, and leverage the output of that information that you feed to an AI model to then control the positioning of the robots by outputting Cartesian coordinates, you know, three-dimensional coordinates for the robot to tell it what to do. So that's actually a common implementation right now in the manufacturing space, leveraging AI to be the smarts behind the system. So rather than having a programmer program all the different tools in these proprietary languages, you can use the AI as an intermediary to essentially do the math. So that's kind of how AI is combining with industrial automation to make it more effective in programming and more efficient. What these guys were doing at the trade show was documentation automation and what's called RPA, which is robotic process automation. So no robots, no physical robots. It's processes that are defined, fed to an LLM, and the LLM provides a means to interpret what those next steps in the process are and automate that process. You can think of like office work. You know, if you
So
were
like the control policy.
yeah, yep. So I'll leave it there, John. I think Jordan's had his hand up for a while.
Just one last question, then we'll get to Jordan and Crow. You chime in again. You're bringing you down. Sorry, but so were there any companies that were established companies touting AI being used with them, or was that all the only AI real conversation were these startups? Because I assume that companies must be using it. Maybe they're not really talking about it or publicly bringing it up.
So there are, you know, a lot of the big players in, at least in industrial automation and in this pharma space, have data science teams. And those data science teams are starting to build teams around AI to create these newly, you know, realized agentic workflows. So they're all very much in a testing phase, much like the rest of us. So nobody really is, I would argue that nobody I've seen so far is established, as you might consider, you know, a fully established company that's been doing it for years. The only ones that are really doing that in my industry are the vision companies. So there are a lot of companies, Cognex, Keyence, and some other private companies that have been leveraging deep learning models for decades. And they are now using agentic workflows where you used to have to program this stuff with proprietary software and be a specialist with Cognex cameras, for example, to do intelligent vision on machinery. Now it's done with AI. So now you train it with some pictures or some images of, say you're using robots to make a medical device. You train the vision like, and then let the AI automate the process. And so those companies are very well established, but their AI implementations are still fairly new. But out of the lion's share of the companies that I've seen and I deal with, those are the guys that really have it fairly well cemented. They have teams that do it. They sell products that you can purchase that have it, embedded in their systems. So, that vision space has been around for quite a while, and they're on the leading edge of it. In terms of industrial automation, the next phase really is automating these actual real world robots and using AI for intelligent motion. So what you're going to start hearing about are physics models, right? So people are going to start implementing real world physics models that can take things like velocity, acceleration, positioning into account. And that's where things are going to get interesting. The humanoid robotics, that type of thing, that's where you're going to start to see that technology really take off.
Hey, don't they already do that like the Unreal Engine? I mean, Unreal can replicate real-time physics and other physics. I mean, you can manipulate the physics models in like the real time in a gaming engine, right? Do you think that's is that what's gonna translate? Or are they gonna take that model or some portion of it in that physics, world and move it somewhere else? Or how do you think that's gonna work?
Yeah, so you're over the target, Andy. So right now, for example, my company, we use Unreal Engine to do some 3D development in AR, but we didn't take it to the next step, which is to tell the robots what to do, right? So that's the leading edge. So nobody's established that yet, and you kind of saw that at when Jensen came out from NVIDIA and demonstrated that little Star Wars robot doing its own intelligent, motion control. That robot could tell that its head weighed 15 pounds. And if it leaned backwards, don't go too far because your head will look like it's going to fall off, So they were using real world physics engines to control that robot. That's really the first time it's been demonstrated outside of Boston Dynamics at like a large trade show. That's why it was so impressive. So this is literally the cutting edge.
But the Sony robots have been doing that for some period of time, right? They can maneuver over they can one shot it. They can pick up a device, they can pick up something, calculate its size and weight, pick it up, carry it over obstacles. They've already been doing that for years. So how is just help me, because I'm not catching the.
Yeah, me and Jordan have been waiting forever, and I have input. You can kick me out if you want, but it's called Groot from NVIDIA. It's their training environment.
Oh, okay, cool. But what did you see that was different than the stuff I just mentioned? That's the question.
The Groot training environment is very similar to the one in Unreal. It just has a lot more tools. NVIDIA just has more tools, more training methods. Some of the training methods are automatic. You just click and it changes the training method.
Sure, it's okay. So we're using a bunch of terms I'm not sure everybody understands. One shot training is basically where you put a device in an environment and then hopefully give it instructions. Hopefully it will accommodate all of the parameters and constraints of the environment and complete whatever task it's given in one try without training.
Yeah,
right?
If I forget what I called it. Bro, whoever keeps doing that, y'all are real Nazis about words. Like, I'm just gonna leave if y'all are gonna act crazy like that. That is really rude.
Well,
dude, Crow, I told you, Jordan's been waiting. We're having a conversation.
Jordan left because you wouldn't call on anybody. That's why I'm mad, because you sat there for 30 minutes rambling when we had our hands up. We had stuff to say. It could have been back and forth. It didn't have to be just that one guy. I'm not saying cut him off. I'm saying it could have been more open. You did a horrible host move. I love you, but that was horrible.
I'm having trouble with my computer, and I wanted.
That's too bad. Crow left.
Well,
interesting conversation.
You can't please everybody.
Yeah, it happens. I was curious that I've seen those things happen in the past. I was curious as to what was the new thing that is I just didn't hear it, or it didn't resonate with me, or I didn't put it in my brain. I was really just looking for what happened different, what happened, the new thing, what is the new step, what is that elevation, that next step kind of thing. If anybody else knows, raise your hand. I'd love to learn and figure out what's going on there. Well, it's still cool with, you know, if you're programming, it's kind of what we talked about yesterday, a couple days ago, where the entire factory floor is the robot, and it's moving around, and it's moving things and devices and details in various ways and mannerisms to produce whatever effect it's trying to do, right? Move a package to this location, grab something from inventory and put it into a delivery packet or to a delivery section, or sort it or whatever. I mean, think about the volume of mail or the volume of packages from UPS. What they do is they separate the packages into a single file line or whatever, how many they have, and they run it through, and they have a whole bunch of cameras and scanners, and they scan the barcode, and then based on the barcode, it determines which area it goes into so that it can be either rerouted to whatever, either into a delivery area or back into a different vehicle or a different plane or whatever. But they have an algorithm that tracks all that stuff and determines the best path for that particular device or that particular package, what its path is to get to its intended destination. And so essentially, you put a package into a bunch of trucks, they dump them into this giant warehouse-sized machine robot, and the robot sorts and tracks stuff into various bins, and then you put the bins in the either truck or put the bins into the next airplane, and it goes off, and it just continues to iterate through the cycle until it gets into a delivery van with an address in the area where that guy's going, that guy, truck driver, whatever. They go over and deliver it. That's what happens. Each warehouse is like a giant robot. It's very, very cool how it's working. And I'm sure that AI will do things like, you know, like the Japanese slugs or was it amoebas or a virus or a bacteria or something that created a more efficient pathway for the Tokyo underground system, whatever it was. That should look that up. That's pretty cool too. And apologies for not remembering if it was.
I know what you're talking about.
I think it was a bacteria or something. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a moss. So it's like a bacteria, but it would grow in the least areas of least resistance, and that's how they made their train station, because it would just grow in the area where it like made its own pathway. It was a really interesting story. I know exactly what you're talking about. Hey everyone. Sorry, I came off the mic.
Thanks, Star Killer. So, John, we got 11 minutes before I have to leave. So back to you. Let's put this back on track. I mean, we've kind of done some really interesting things. If I could, before I do that, you know, make sure you please go hit our sponsor, Virtual Synergies. They're an AI company, or they're a virtual assistant company that they can help you with virtual assistants. If AI can't quite float your boat, can't quite get all the things done, you need a human to help you, but you don't have a lot of time, you can reach out to them, and they help source. They have trained people. So I've heard fantastic things. I have not engaged with them yet, but I've heard fantastic things. So please reach out, find our sponsor, click on their link. They do have a survey. When you click there, it says you want to do these tasks, this thing, this thing, this thing, and then it will give you the best options for solving your particular problem. So it's pretty cool, and I strongly recommend that you go hit them up and check them out. For Virtual Synergies, are a sponsor of the AI Biz Hour.
Absolutely. It's Virtual Synergies Inc. And they are a virtual assistants who handle your administration work, email, scheduling, so you can focus on what truly matters, and that's growing your business. I apologize. I was having some problems with my computer. It was acting a little funny. And Mr. Crow, I do have some strong feelings about Mr. Crow, but that's me, and that's a my problem. So that's not a your problem. One thing I was hoping is Jason could grab the mic. Jason has helped us by creating the AI Biz Hour Discord server, and I was hoping that I don't know if he's working right now, if he's busy, hoping to give him a minute or two to talk about that. I don't know if there's any devs in the room. You can DM myself or Jason to become a member of the Discord server. And I see Jason has grabbed the mic. Are you can you excellent co-host right now. Jason, can you tell us about the Discord server and what's going on there and who's it targeted to and the purpose of it? And I just need to say that people who've gone there have said that it is the best, most organized Discord server they've ever seen. Hats off to you. You really did a great job.
Yeah, so right now we're kind of in the first phase of it. So when you log in, you have to accept there's an initial accept to make sure that you're human. We're trying to get as many of the bots out as possible. But once you're past that, there is another window that you can select your role. So I have it divided up right now. There's a investor section, a like a business. So you're kind of coming in, you're wanting to learn about AI maybe or implement something for your business. So that's a different section. And then there's one that a little bit broken out even further is developer section. So if you're building AI, so you're either involved with training language models or maybe you're doing something with neural networks or something like more very specific to an industry and you're kind of like don't mind sharing your knowledge there is that and also separating out developers that are just building against APIs, which is more where I would probably live myself. Is I'm kind of wrapping extra functionality around the language model. So I think there's a little bit of a separation there between skills for people that are really building new knowledge into AI versus us that are just building on top of it. So that right now, that's where I have it separated. So everything right now is very public, but as we move further into it, and just it takes a little bit of time and logistics and kind of to figure out how people like it. Is that we're going to add a little bit of a vetted community, so there will be some private channels that will open up. I forget who is going to help us with testing. But we're going to try and add in a way to vet people and then move those people into the private channels. And the purpose of that is that we are making this Discord channel if an investor or someone that's a business person wants to have access to a developer that can build things, then we have that already pre-vetting done, and you can immediately kind of get connected with people that are looking for work. So that's kind of the long-term vision of it. We're still kind of in that first phase because I'm doing this on top of other things. So as much as I can kind of focus into it, I'm trying to. But yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Andy works with a lot of devs. I wonder if you have any questions, but also, yeah, Jason, right now I've heard from so many people about the process of resumes and finding the right people, and it's antiquated. I think that having a space like what you've created with this community where people can quickly determine the skill and level, because they're also in kind of a gladiator pit with other people who know what's going on, so they can test them and make sure that they are and can do what they say, is going to be hugely valuable, because the nature of finding people and understanding their capabilities with AI and all of these other things, I don't know if a resume really fits the bill. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, resumes, and even in the dev world, like the last 10, 15 years, the interview process has been, honestly, it's terrible because you get tasked with all these problems and sample things that you spend hours and hours working on it's like for free, and you just throw away the code. So it makes it I think the process is awful right now, and I feel bad for anyone having to deal with it. But if we can kind of get rid of that layer and you do it once, and then it's just trying to build a pipeline of work for people or getting the right connections in place so that you can either offer consulting capacity or just build things and you don't have to worry about that vetting process. To me, that is just the ideal place. And right now, there's so many people looking for jobs in the tech space too. So it's on the flip side, hiring right now, I think 70% of the resumes and interviews are AI generated. So the resumes are not legitimate, but they look good on paper. And then even if you give them like a little programming test, a lot of times they use the language models to build the solution. So it's a hard balance, right? You either give a really hard test that you need someone to do and just hope that they'll do it, or you give kind of a simple problem. You're looking for how well do they structure like the folder structure, your files, kind of like proving their experience in the industry, but it's really easy to fake with language models. So it is hard right now. So yeah, I'll land the plane there.
Yeah. Hey, Jason, do you think it's, well, I've said, so tell me how far wrong I am, because I'm okay that I'm wrong. I think that most developers need to think more like an architect, like a systems architect or a data architect. I have this problem. Here's the current flow. I have to make this change. So I have to change this module or this trigger or this path or this whatever decision point in that flow. And then I have to either create some kind of new response or modify the data to put it somewhere else, right? And if they could express that to you, even if they don't have all of, let's say, the specific skills to do that, they can find the skills or learn the skills if they can think through the logic. I've been saying something like, how close or how wrong am I on that kind of thinking?
Not wrong at all. Right now, that is like what separates someone that has 10 years experience versus someone that's just kind of getting started in the industry is, and I guess it's not really soft skills, but I think of it as soft skills. Is like when you develop a code base, you want it to be maintainable and readable, and like when you add other people to it, you want it more intuitive than real all over the place, so that it's really hard to understand what you're looking at. So all of those things right now, we're kind of shortcutting around and building these real quick solutions and not really solutions that we can maintain in the long term. So definitely what you're saying would think of it as like an architect versus just like,
well,
almost like go ahead.
That comes what you're describing about creating maintainable code comes with experience. And that experience comes with the pain of trying to either unwind something you or un-effed something that you effed up, or unwinding something somebody else did. And you have to kind of experience that to get there. You can be taught what to do. You can be taught how to stub out areas, how to stub out details, how to create little error breaks, send good messages to know exactly what part of that kind of whole value chain died. But that comes with experience. That comes with the scars and the pain. And so if you're asking for senior level people, totally get it. Yep, 100%. If you're asking for junior level people in today's world, maybe they have skills in Java, maybe they have skills in assembler, maybe they have skills in whatever, Python, but they may or may not have that kind of skill. That skill doesn't matter if you're writing in COBOL or BASIC or whatever. Those skills are the same everywhere. We use those skills in the project side to build out schedule stubs of what happens when you can't finish on time, or this doesn't work, or we do a test and we find out that UAT doesn't match the old production, and so therefore something's a gap. You got to fix it. We build those things in. You've done it enough. You fixed that problem. Are you looking for that level of seniority and skill? Or are you looking for that level of knowledge? Or are you looking for skill set, and not just you, but are the companies looking for that? Because people are going to they can use AI to create a resume. I totally 100% agree with that. But then how do you poke and check them if they really have that next level, what you're really talking about? Because it's hard to ask for that it's hard to put in a requirement for that.
Yeah, and I think that's like when you ask about what type of development process have you been in and what do you like or what you didn't like and how would you change it? Because that kind of exposes working in a team environment, or even if you just work on a project for 4 or 5 years, you start to learn that when you're done with it, 6 months, you'll probably have something you have to go back and fix. And if you've left it real hard to follow or you don't understand what you did, then you have to refigure it out. And it's a waste of your time, but also if you're getting paid for it, you have to balance that. Do I charge them for it, or do I have to like put the bill for it? So things like that you start to become more aware of as you do it.
Yeah, I like the concept of what kind of environments have you worked at? I'll give you a perfect example. I know a guy that is freaking the bomb. He is so awesome at building POCs rapidly. He can take your idea, listen to a meeting, and then go back in a day or two and go, okay, here it works. And I mean, literally just awesome. However, at his code, we tried to move him into kind of an enterprise architect role. It didn't work because the mindset to solve the immediate problem is different than the mindset to solve let's not build it one time. Let's build it so it can run 1,000 times. And then let's build it so it can run 1,000 times a second. Those are 3 different levels of programming, and they're almost 3 different kinds of guys, 3 different kinds of people. And so I had a guy who was just fantastic doing proof of concepts. Awesome. But his code never translated into the enterprise. Just the structure and idea, that kind of architecture kind of worked, but then it had to be applied in other ways to get, security in place and to get encryption in place and to store and send the data back and forth in the right ways. And he could never make that transition, but he was great on the front end on just solving the problem, but he was not good on the enterprise side. All right, hey John, I got to run. Jason, thank you for the conversation. I'll turn this back over to you, John, and thanks again, everybody. We appreciate all the people who join and listen. We're here for you, and thank you so much for your questions and comments and support.
Thank you, Andy, and thank you for creating this and letting me jump on board, because I really enjoy doing this each day. And Andy has a wealth of knowledge. I highly recommend everybody please follow Andy. Go to his account, and he has 11th Street Consulting and 40 by 50. It's another one of his businesses, and he has his newsletter. Also, he has his community, CEO of Your Life. He's been a speaker all over the world. He's worked with companies all over the world. He has a great resume and a lot of experience, and I highly recommend you follow Andy, put on his notifications so you can see he speaks on the weekend. He's with this woman, Alex, who does a space that's on where people pitch. And also he's regularly every morning with Justin R. French, Justin Results of the Renfrew New Roden, and he does his space each morning at 6:45 in the a.m. Pacific time, which I guess is 9:45 Eastern time. It's always a great space, always a great way to start your day. So I highly recommend you do that. And Jason, I'm just curious, maybe I could be off. I don't know the dev community very well. I'm beginning to understand it. But I think it might take years for me to totally understand it. Maybe that server space could be kind of a bit of a mentor program as well, where people could learn how to do things correctly so they don't have those nightmares that you guys were talking about in terms of being excited you make something, but you don't have any documentation and you don't have anything to hand off to anybody so they can fix it down the road, or if you have a business. I mean, there must be, I find, because I do SEO, and so I'll have a company that will be a large company. Maybe it has 26 offices, and you can tell that they've hired people along the way to do this thing and do that thing and this thing, but they never had anybody look at the 30,000-foot view to put everything together. So there's all these problems where there's duplication, where things aren't done right, where there's something that's done that's just out in the nether region. And the thing is, Google looks at the totality of an entity's online information, and if everything's not in sync, you get dinged for it. So I could imagine with developers and with companies, if they hire a person here, there, and there, and here, it could be just kind of a Frankenstein mess. And are there fix-it men that go into those situations? And also with the server, the AI and BizHour server that you created, that's awesome, totally organized, everybody's really loving it. Could that be a place where you could take maybe not as experienced developers and kind of guide them in the way to do it correctly?
Yeah, I think it makes a good spot for it. And honestly, I hadn't considered it, so would be a good thing to just, if people are interested to do that, then we can. And like, even with developers themselves, like, there is like the generalist approach where I would think I'm more of that personality, where I've kind of dabbled in a lot of things and I can tie it together as a big picture. But someone that's doing neural networks that is very good with the math and model tuning, all of these types of things, that is a very, the more time you spend with it, the better and quicker you're going to be. But maybe they don't need to connect to the outside system. So it's the combination of those two personalities that come together. And it's very different. You kind of have the common goal, but you still need the two players to work together to kind of make a solution fit in a bigger stack. So I think that's another avenue too, is that you can get different people with different strengths working together for it. So yeah, so kind of random side comment from that, but it kind of put me down that mindset.
Well, yeah, that's good. I mean, we're really building a community here. I feel it's getting strong. We've, Andy and I have put together 100 shows in the course of, I think, 4 or 5 months. And, moving forward, I think as the industry, the AI industry becomes something, because we just got the report from Jack of all trades at the trade show that it's really not even, it's just on the beginning edge of it. We're going to see this community might become something, a force within it, as this industry matures around us. Jack of all trades, I noticed you got your hand up. Do you have a question for Jason, or what would you like to add there? And then I'm going to go to Starlink and then King.
Hey, John, I think Star had his hand up before me, so I'd like to hear from him, and then I can jump in after.
I don't really want to hear from Star yet. I want to hear you first. I give Star a hard time. I love Star. He's great contributor. I really want to get to know his music. He's a musician. He's an interesting guy. He really brings it. But sometimes
that's awesome.
But I just want to, because I saw that your hand was raised when Jason started speaking. I have a feeling you want to ask Jason a question.
Well, yeah. So it's two things. One, real quick, and I kind of wish Andy was still around, because I think I could circle the wagon on what he described about the Postal Service. I think there's this perception that automated systems in manufacturing, or things like, the Postal Service, are one unit. And that's not the reality. The reality is, just like Jason described, there are experts in controls programming. There are system integration experts that work with MES systems that integrate the pull demand from customers on automated systems. So it is a group of specialized individuals with some standards in place that create the overall automation. So it may have this appearance like it's one big robot, but it actually isn't. It's actually specialists who are very specialized in their fields, doing what they do best and integrating those systems together. So as Jason pointed out, you need generalists that understand the overall picture. You need people with the enterprise vision for project management to pull all the expertise, all the knowledge experts together. So that's what Andy is describing. So it really takes a community of these experts to really pull off automation at a level that is lights out, they call it. No human interaction. It just happens. That is kind of the holy grail. And that is what these AI systems provide hope for, is to be able to do that at a much higher level of, dare I say, intelligence. I use that word lightly.
I want to say something real quick. Hello.
Yep.
I just want to say
Hello.
something
I
real
don't know who
quick.
that was.
King, I'm gonna bring you down if you don't wait till
I'm
Dan.
sorry. I'm okay.
Okay, so just let him finish speaking, please.
All right, I will.
Yeah.
I will.
So one the quick thought I had, Andy, was I need the difference. The automation protocols that work in manufacturing of software dev. They are two different things. They coordinate each other, but they are different ecosystems. And since AI can automate both, it's kind of the framework that can bring it all together. So I think in some of these spaces, maybe we spend some time, clarifying the definitions and presenting each one of those areas of expertise, because there's probably experts from both, and then figure out, what systems make sense to build upon and how we can leverage AI to do that. So I'll leave it there, and happy to hear from others too.
Absolutely, Jack of all trades, and yeah, the agreeing on the definitions of terms is an absolute must. And I think that what's really exciting too is because this is so new, there's not even a real total vocabulary for the industry. So I know that Vladimir was here earlier. Vladimir wrote something about starting to kind of quantify what AI can do in terms of, let's say, have a rating scale. Like this AI tool has a rating scale of it, optimizes the work of 10 people or 4 people, but some way to kind of quantify what it can do within compared to other comparables, and then to give it and then eventually even give it a monetary value. When you have appliances that have an energy rating that will save 20% of your electrical bill or something like that. But to start to think about Vladimir was the first one to throw the gauntlet down and write that article that was very interesting. And I asked him, I said, well, maybe we can move that here in the space. And he's like, well, I put it out there, and if people deal with it, they, if they take it on, they take it on. That's his contribution to it. But I think that something like that would be hugely important, because every industry has their own rating that's either they created or the government comes in to create it. So the customer has an understanding of what they're getting into, and it's consistent, and they can count on it. So these types of things are really important. So thank you so much. And Jason, if you want to add anything at any time, please just feel free. Your co-host, and if you anytime if you got things to do, just let me know. And so Star Killer, we'll go with you, and then David. And also, please, anybody else that wants to contribute to the conversation, please come up and grab the mic. I usually go on the after show about as long as there's questions. Yesterday, I rambled for like an hour about all kinds of things. People stuck around. I don't know where I'm at with that today. I've got a lot of work to do, so I've got to kind of gauge myself here. So, Star Killer, please, the mic is yours.
Hey, thanks. Today's day 3 in beautiful Florida. I never thought I would say a swamp is as beautiful as a beach. I rescued a tortoise today, and I saw a gator for the first time. Those things are cool. I did follow up on the task of yesterday, and today I made an extraordinary amount of progress in my Roblox game. So not only was I able to ask the AI the right questions, but I was able to ask it what I wanted. I said, "Hey AI, what do you think I want? Can you tell me what you think I want?" And I noticed it was making assumptions, and I had to stop it, much like when I don't answer your questions correctly. So I stopped the AI and said, "Hey, wait, you are not actually. You're assuming a lot of things." And then I started defining terms and seeing and asking it again if those terms are matching what it's doing. So I was able to integrate. I had zombies in my game. It's a zombie game. I'm making a bunch of tools. And I told it, I said, "Hey, I want to add a smart zombie that uses the same model. So I want some dumb zombies that just run at walls, and I want some smart ones that move around the walls, but I want it to come from the same model." And I got that achieved today, and it felt really rewarding to use some startup circle tricks. That's my mic. And yeah, we should prioritize interesting speakers over longer speakers, right? It's funny how somebody. Anyway, I think it's funny how John yesterday said Chat GDP. I thought that was funny.
I'm dyslexic, and so I'm not happy with letters, and they're not very happy with me. So often I'll say the wrong thing, and people that, like my sister, that's really a grammar kind of, I'm not going to say that word, but is very adamant about grammar. It kind of drives them nuts. I don't even notice it, so I apologize if I do. Sometimes I'll say Chat GDP, instead of chat.
Well, you called me Starlink today. That was
Yeah.
funny too. That could be my nickname.
Yeah, I to add some charm, some level of frustration. It's kind of all over the map. I'm kind of curious, though. I'm not kind of. I am curious. What LLMs are you using to make this game? Is this your first game? Please tell us a little bit about that, and also explain to the people that are listening what has transpired with you coming to the space and then you using the LMs based on the knowledge from the space. How has that changed you? How has it changed you in terms of what and at any level? Because that's part of the reason that people come back here again and again, because they're getting something out of this.
Absolutely, John. Well, first of all, this is my first game. I've never been a game dev. I had some experience engineering in VR in 2017. I even went to GDC VR, and and that's when I learned I would never have a future in coding. I said to myself, I will never learn code. I've tried Ruby the hard way. Ruby was invented on my birth year, and I could never do it. But I'm a beginner, and what I've learned here, two things. One, I don't need the ability to write code. I just need to read what it's saying and manipulate it to my liking. So even though I may not be able to do it myself, the tool exists now to where I can. So I've never made a game. And when it comes to coming to startup circles, I wouldn't have had the idea that I use. Oh, the second question was, which LLMs am I using? So I actually used Chat GPT for the first time today. And well, for a project, that is. I did have some histories in 2024, but this was my first opening it in 2025. But I found Grok to be much more successful at writing in Lua. So what I did today was I started in Grok, didn't get my result, moved it to Chat GPT, got a better result, moved it back into Grok, got an even better result. So for me, exploring multiple LLMs was very useful. That was recommended here. And also asking prompts I learned here. And then the third final thing I learned here was telling the computer, not only is it wrong, but what am I asking for? So that's what I learned. And applying each of these into my project has made me not only understand what code is doing, but it also makes me understand how the AI is reacting, how the LLM reacts. And of course, I come for the banter. I think it's hilarious to compare AI to the dumbest genius on earth, that if you ask it 100 questions, it starts responding slower. So of course, I come here for the entertainment, the education. What else can I say? It's been a great season.
Well, thank you, Star Killer. I appreciate that. Again, someday the other day, someday you gotta play everybody a song near the end of the hour if you got one of your songs that you produced. Kind of interested. I wonder if you're trying to sell them to. I mean, in the old days, I knew people that would sell their songs to various TV shows and stuff, but I don't even know if TV shows exist. I haven't had TV in a long time. But thank you for sharing that, and thank you for showing up. And I'm really happy to hear your success. And I know that everybody's looking forward to hear how things move forward. Jason, you
I
got
would
your
like
hand
to,
up. Guru Dana,
yeah,
yes.
yeah, sorry about the interruption. I would like to add to this that also I found out that Grok gave me more precise and better research than ChatGPT. And in some cases, ChatGPT also gave me wrong answers. So yeah, I do my deeper research on about everything. So saying this, I also, because I'm in the process of doing Python development studies, but I'm just wondering, really, and I'm kind of foreseeing that artificial intelligence will surpass the coding. So, yeah, I thought about coding. I'm not sure if I should really go that way at all, because I would rather study artificial intelligence than coding. So, anybody can help me about this?
Jason had his hand up. I know Jason's very good at coding. And also, just one note before I give the mic to Jason. Yeah, I don't use Chat GPT anymore at all. I just find that the output is inferior to Grok and a lot of others. So it just doesn't work for me. But Jason, you had your hand up?
Yeah, so I had a little bit of comments to Starkiller. I just wanted to, are you familiar with source control and using like code repository? I only say that because if you get into a situation that you make changes, or like I've heard of horror stories with some of the IDEs where it changes a lot of code and breaks everything. If you haven't looked into that, I would definitely make a point to do it and make sure you get a snapshot of where you're at. That way, if something happens, you can revert back.
Well, thank you. Yeah. What was that called? Source?
Source control. Right now, Git is probably the go-to, GIT, and you can use like GitHub for free, or you can even run a server locally, or just it is decentralized and it does the merging together. But at least make sure you're storing it somewhere. That way, you don't get 6 months in and then two things get messed up. You can't retrace your steps.
That's a really good idea because, some digital audio workstations have that automatically. And I made the assumption that maybe game engines do the same thing. So I'll have to check, make copies, and make sure my game doesn't just break, or God forbid someone hacks and just decides to destroy all my code. So yeah, that's a good idea. I'll look into source control after the space here.
Yeah, and then Guru, I think.
Hello, Mr. John, can you hear me?
King, I'm going to take you down. Just wait. Jason's talking. Let him finish speaking, and then I'll get to you. So just hold on for a minute, please.
Hello?
Yeah.
Hello, can you hear me?
Apologies for that. Continue, Jason.
Yeah. So, Guru, I think whether or not you should go further in coding is think about what you need to do. So if you are trying to connect data, like the only way to connect data right now to a AI is either copy and paste it, or if you want to automate it, you can do it through code. So if you're only really interested in the aspects of interacting with the AI, or even just like fine tuning things, I don't know that you have to do the code, but if you are wanting to automate and make like applications that you can just double click and have it run, then it's almost unavoidable to get into it. So do you have any more?
Would the Python development would be
Python right now is probably, if you're going to do anything with AI, go with Python. Like R and Python are the popular ones, and mostly because Python it's already the go-to for neural networks, it kind of just natural progression of technology is to go with LLMs too. So you can do lots of cool things with it.
My goal is not to be a coder, but really to create items, products from what I want to create, and using artificial intelligence with that. So I think I need to have some base in coding in order to do that. That's my thinking.
Yeah, and even people that are, data analytics, they would almost two different skill sets. They use Python in a way that is focused on manipulating and understanding data, and their skills don't always. There's a lot of overlap, but it's like two different skill sets. So it's definitely a track you can go down, and it's not really coding specifically, but maybe more specific on data. So yeah.
So what are you saying? Really, coding is still necessary. We are not there yet that AI will surpass the coding, correct?
Yeah, not for a while. I mean, developers will probably lose their jobs because we get like one developer gets more efficient at doing things. You can get more done with fewer people, but you still in production environments when you deploy things, you want someone that's good with code that can quickly kind of diagnose and fix things. So if you build a very brittle code base that you change one thing and you break 10 other things, that is not ideal. So yeah, we're not going to be replaced anytime soon. I mean, next 5 years maybe, but not in the next year.
I think the idea, I mean, the idea that an LLM is going to be able to think, in other words, to see one problem and then have an experience and then understand how to attack a problem based on past experience and other ideas. I don't know if they're ever going to be able to do that, tell you the truth. I mean, maybe if you have multiple LLMs, they'll be able to start to solve and fix problems. But I think currently right now there's, a lot of blind spots that could take a long time for them to fill in. But we'll see. I mean, like in my experience with Copilot or whatever, working with um, Visual Studio Code, it does all kinds of things that just make more problems. Is have you ever used Copilot or any of those, Jason, or are you just very specific about what you're going to use when you use an LLM when coding, or do you even use them?
100% use them. So I have GitHub Copilot in my IDE. It's probably the bottom, but it's more convenient because it's built into the environment. And then I've kind of been equally using ChatGPT and Grok. I prefer ChatGPT because I set up a custom one that has like my requirements files. So I do a little bit with PHP and Vue in one project. So I have all those built into that. And it's a little bit more aware when it offers suggestions that it's compatible with the language. And then it also kind of knows the other libraries I'm using. So when it gives a suggestion, it'll include those into the response. So that's helpful. And Grok doesn't really have the memory set up that way. So that's why I'm a little bit biased to it. So I generally can get a quicker answer with ChatGPT over any of the other ones when it gets very specific. So so that's kind of how I'm using it.
Have you tried to make any agents locally on your own computers? Because I mean, by doing that, you can do. I mean, you could do what ChatGPT can do on steroids.
I've not messed with that too much in the early days, yes, but it was more of a waste of time than like it was neat, but it didn't really make me more productive, I guess.
Why was that? Was that because of the limitations of so if you're putting something locally on your own computer, what are the limitations compared to that from using chat GPT's interface on the web with the various new features that it has?
So I use a laptop, and it's a little bit hardware limited to take the better model. So I did run DeepSeek on my gaming machine, but it wouldn't run. It would run, but it just sucked up so many resources it didn't really make it realistic. But uh, and it still would have taken some programming setup to get it to always look at certain files and then remember how I wanted it to respond. So I never went to the trouble of like actually making a very like fine-tuned setup on my rig, I guess. So I've not invested the time probably I needed to. But I think part of that is because it is a big time investment, and um yeah, and the amount of time to really get it fine-tuned versus what I'm getting out of Chat GPT, I haven't really justified the the effort, I guess, quite yet for me. But
Got it. And you know, it's gonna be interesting to see what the costs are gonna be as they go down the road. I mean, it I just got access to Manus, and so I just hear that that's off the charts. I'm holding off. I got 1,000 free credits, and so I don't want to put anything into it or put a command until I really put some thought into it. But like Jack of all trades, he used it and said he had got this amazing report, and I know that Juan Carlos has used it and said that there was amazing. And one interesting thing, I did a post about this the other day. In a way, I was able to turn Grok into an AI agent by giving a prompt that said, step 1, do execute this, step 2, execute this, step 3, execute that. And by doing it, when you go through Grok and you can see it executing your prompt, it would do these multiple tasks as though it was an agent. And if you prompt things correctly, you can almost you can get an outcome as though you created an agent with just a prompt. Have you tried anything like that? Or because the Robert Scoble said, soon we're going to be able to build things just by saying X, Y, and Z. And that was one of the things, the story came out today, that there's agents now that can be built without any coding, just through these platforms. But I think the cost of those are going to be kind of through the roof. Have you had any thoughts on that at all?
yeah, and I've not explored that a whole lot. Like when I use it for coding, which when I use AI, that's mostly what it's for. I have a very specific. I separate everything out into functions, and then I stitch together the functions, because when your code right now, my code base that I work in, most of the time I don't know how many lines of code. I just put a guesstimate. It's probably 60,000 lines. You can't submit that every request, otherwise your tokens really go out the. It you accumulate the cost of it trying to figure out every time that you are sending a request. And if there was a way to optimize that, that would be huge. But the way I request it is just I'll say what I need the function to do, the inputs, the outputs, and then kind of like set up the error scenarios. And it's normally one prompt I get to return back, and then I can kind of copy and paste it and then tweak it a little bit as I need to. And that's more of the extent I'm using it. I'm not letting it do a lot of the major thinking yet. It's because I enjoy coding still, and I just like to knock out little chunks at a time. But when you ask it to do too much at once, it can really start going off. And it can do inefficient things sometimes, or it just like gets confused about what you actually want. So for you as the coder, you can, if you kind of give it more granular requests, then you have to think through the scenario versus you just sitting there and like giving it a sentence and it comes up with something and you put it in it. You start to get little gaps in your what your goal is. So I don't know.
Yeah, with the multi-step prompt, what I did, which was it, I kind of think a little interesting. I said, you know, go out and find 9 websites that have this criteria, and then use those 9 to define elements that you have targeted that make it within the criteria I said, and then do a feedback loop and then refine that 9 to 6. And then those 6, and so it would have these steps that kind of had guardrails. So it would, and then it would be, you know, take those 6 and look at the elements of the parameters that you used to define the best and re-examine that, and then bring it down to, and eventually it came down to 6. And then at the end, no, then it came down to 3. And then at the end, I said, now write a list of what you stated as the elements and parameters that were the most important to come up with the final 3. So by creating a prompt like that, and you might, you know, it could be transferred to coding if you had a big problem and you said, well, how should we attack this problem? Give me 9 choices, then 6 choices, then 3 choices. And then you have a list of kind of what at least that day it believes are the most important elements and parameters, or whatever you want to say, to create, to define what is the best choice for that situation. And it was, yeah, because if you give something, if you have a long-winded prompt, it's not going to be very effective. But by doing these step prompts, and at the end of each step there's a review of what it believes to be the result of that step, and then it's reviewed and refined by a feedback loop, and then you go to the next step and you do that at the next step. It does create actually a more concentrated focus, as opposed to kind of a diluted noise, because it's a big long prompt. Does that make any sense?
Yes. Yeah. And actually, so we're building a really simple agent and we're doing something like that because, right. So it's almost like to get the one goal, you need 3 or 4 different steps with the AI to get the outcome. So for us, we're just writing a really simple follow-up agent just to right now, just to build the infrastructure, because we need to send the request out, we need to track the progress and then do the review step. So that part is going to be repeated for any agent that we make. It's like the guts of the agent that we need a little bit flexible. So so in our thing, we're doing one prompt to take I'll say like all the metadata about a customer that we know. So any sort of like what business industry they're in, any previous conversation we've had, all of that, we're using one request to summarize that information and then use that to submit to say, I need a follow-up sent out. This was our last conversation. This is the information I have about this customer. Give me the response. And then like a validation request. So we're building a language that validates that it sounds like an email. It correctly addresses the correct company, just kind of like the very highlights before we send it to the user to review. So yes, we're doing something similar in that approach to where we're using a multi-step process with different requests, kind of like each with a specific purpose, but they all tie together for the final. So yeah, I don't know if that kind of
yeah, I mean, that validates what I was saying, just in the sense that if you craft a prompt in a certain way, you can put if let's say it's a refining prompt, or a prompt that drills down onto a solution or a list or a task, and you go from many to few. And like what you were saying, but that won't dilute the output. But more often than not, if you just have a long-winded prompt that goes, and then do this, and then do that, and then do this, you're going to have kind of gibberish at the end. I'm going to, I highly recommend everybody please follow Jason, and you can DM Jason or myself if you're a dev and you would like to join the AI Biz Hour Discord server. Also, please, everybody that's listening, take the time to go over to my space, or actually I'm going to put it on in the purple pill as well, and sign up for my newsletter, which is going to be the newsletter for the community. And it's really worthwhile to be involved in the community, whether you are a dev or an investor or a business owner or a professional that's looking to excel your skills in AI. We really, the space has value. And the reason I know that is because people keep on coming back. And just like Starkiller said, he learned things here that he's applying to his day-to-day life. And then also with the server, the Biz AI Biz Hour server, we're making a space that's so needed right now, because I've heard again and again from people in various professions that right now, especially for devs, the resume just doesn't it doesn't deliver what the purpose of it is. The purpose of it is to filter and to refine, to find the best person to solve a problem for a company where the company needs a person to be employed or to hire for a given project. And the old way of doing that is not suffice anymore. And I don't know if recruiters, unless they are devs themselves, will really know how to solve that problem. So here in the AI Biz Hour with Andy and John, sponsored by Virtual Synergy Inc., we're really bringing something to the world that is necessary and timely. And you heard from Jack, he's out there, at trade shows, finding out, he's out in the wilderness, reporting back to us what's going on in the business world in terms of AI and the adoption and the application, and where are they. And so because we are, like he said earlier in the show today, we are pioneers going out into the wilderness on our own, with very few of us pushing the edge of the known world into where we can stake our claim and then start to put down a flag and have what have you, and not in a culinary way, but in a way of just trying to expand the society in a better way, actually, like Guru was saying, Guru Dana, that this is the lots going on right now. We have changes in consciousness, changes in the planet, changes in science, changes in business, changes in so many things right now, that it's important to be at a place where, number one, the fear of missing out is real. And one of the reasons why I really wanted to do a daily space on AI was just for my own personal reasons, to feel that like I'm in the pocket, and that I'm not, that something's not going by as a freight train, and I'm not in the right place, and I miss the opportunity. There's only one time in the history of the world that artificial intelligence is going to be adopted by the world, and that's now. And so all of us are here because we want to be we want to position ourselves within this time in the best place that we can to reap the greatest gains. So that's why I'm here, and I have a feeling that that's why everyone's here. So and that's what communities excel at. because I can't go to New York right now and go to the trade show that Jack of all trades just went to. I'm not a dev like Jason, who created the AI Biz Hour Discord space. You know, I'm not doing solar like TVD, and I'm not you know, a developer like Dev Author, or I'm not at the scale of business as Andy, or you know, but by each of us coming here and sharing what we're doing, we are able to help each other, and that's what communities are for. When you had a community back in the old days, somebody helped to dig the well. Not everybody in the community dug the well, but everybody was able to get a benefit from it, and then everybody had investment in that well. They made sure that that well stayed healthy and clean so everybody could drink from it. And so I'm super excited to see how the well of knowledge with the AI Biz Hour with Andy and John develops over time. I mean, we've really just started this, and I think that the potential is very exciting because we do have meetings offline. I have started to build relationships with people from this space. Uh, Andy and myself and another person, we put a bid on a very big project. You know, it's that's not going to happen, but that's one. Before you get into the water, you got to start walking on the beach, and sometimes on the beach there's rocks, there's barnacles, who knows what. There could be marsh. You don't necessarily immediately get in the water, so you got to make that first step, and by making that first step, you're closer and closer to where you want to get. And you know, this is a marathon life. It's not a sprint. So you got to learn how to pace yourself and see the goal, go for it, and know that every time you stub your toe, you fall down and scrape your knee, you're still going forward. And so that's super, super important. Guru Dana, you would like to add something?
Just to add that my intuition, intuitive cosmic intelligence, led me to the right space, and I would love to join your project.
Well, I feel blessed and honored that someone of your caliber is saying publicly that your intuitive intelligence brought you here, because there is there is I know through experience that there is a greater intelligence, and it is a very powerful yet sublime thing. Guru Dana.
Yes.
I noticed that your hand is up. I'm not sure if you wanted to add something else.
That's all what I wanted to comment.
Jason, please. I think we've got 10 minutes left till 2 o'clock Pacific time. I think I'm gonna bow out of here in 10 minutes. What else would you like to add, Jason? And is it okay if people DM you about getting into or should they DM me?
Either works. My DM list is not very busy, so it's easy for me to keep track of it. And just to echo everything that you said, like on top of, it's very hard to keep on top of everything that's coming out. So these spaces are like, you'll hear someone just say a side comment and it puts you down a whole rabbit hole of, you know, learning something. Like the vector database thing, that concept was very new to me last week, and I've been completely geeking out about it. I know it's been around a while, but it just took one of the spaces here for someone to mention something, and it put me down that path. So like 100% these are invaluable to connect just business minded people with developers and kind of just see how people are using it. And that's why I stuck around.
Thank you, Jason. And yeah, I just really am honored that you're here, and I feel very humble that you care enough about the space to help contribute in the ways that you're doing it. And do you want to tell everybody about what, in case somebody might have something that could align with what you're doing here? Do you want to tell everybody in the room a little bit about what you do and what kind of relationships you're looking for in terms of business right now, if you are?
Sure. So, me and AI John met, and so I've changed my direction a little bit based on our conversation. But I'm building a platform that's a business management system that is very modular, and in the background we have the UI components so that you can build a very specific system to your business. So, but because of that, I get to house a lot of business data, and right now there's not really a way for me to communicate that data and make it useful for the users so they don't have to constantly repeat setting up a context to language models in order to have a meaningful chat with their data. So where I'm moving as a extension is it's the acronym is RAG. I can't tell you what that means in the long form, but basically it's the way that you set up your data that's outside of the LLM as a memory into making conversations with it. And the technology that one connecting piece is a vector database. So I'm very early on understanding that. So anyone that has experience implementing a system for that connects a relational database and making use of the vector hashing to connect those memories to a language model, that's where I'm kind of moving that direction. And I want to make meaningful chats with your business data inside of my platform and not go out to like Chat GPT because they use that to train with. So I'm very security conscious. So yeah, so I probably butchered that, but I'm so deep into it, I struggle a little bit.
So Jason, we've hadn't had this specific conversation. I believe that basically the greatest wealth inside of companies is their data. And when the data can be properly scrubbed and cleaned and then used for all kinds of things, that is going to be the holy grail moving forward. And so you work with HIPAA compliant businesses. Like, is there a certain niche of company that you're looking to work with? Do you, like, what are you familiar with? So there's people out here that have relationships with all kinds of people, and so if you could kind of go into that a little bit, and how's the best way to reach you as well, but in terms of types of companies, is it manufacturing? Is it local dentists? Is it the law firm? Is it healthcare? Or is the niche not so important?
Honestly, for me, then it's not that important. But right now, best my best track record is with HIPAA, which it is a company that works with children that have developmental issues. So it's appointment tracking, kind of walking through the end-to-end process of the appointments and then dealing with the billing side. So that whole process is so that IP I can't reuse, but all of the skill set that we've used to develop it we can reuse. So that's the approach I have to take with it. And then there's also a laboratory that we start with the chain of custody. They do their work over multiple days and kind of track things, and they enter it in the system, and then at the end we have final report, and then it deals with the invoicing. So right now those are my two things that are making me busy, but my heart lies with the small business owner. So 1 to 5 employees. So it could be your solopreneur and you have VAs working with you. So oftentimes those are the people that they have spreadsheets and they have stuff in their downloads folder and they have stuff on MailChimp and there's nothing tying it all together. And I kind of want to help people tie that together and then also be able to use AI to do things in a more user-friendly way, because right now it's not the best. And I see an opportunity there, but it's kind of that window's going away fast. So I've got to be really quick about it. And hopefully I'm not too slow. So yeah.
Well, we're gonna have to set up a date to have you as a special guest here, so we can go into details on it. Because to me, I believe that that's really the forefront and the future of things is companies that can come into to a company or consultants, or however you want to put it, and take their data and number one, make it appropriate to be used in certain functions, whether it's HIPAA compliant or if you scrub the certain information out so it can be used for other functions, and then organized and truncated for various uses. That is going to be the big deal at some point when all these things start to pan out in the real world. So I'd be super excited to have that conversation with you as a special guest if you're up for it, and we can DM each other. And again, everyone, please DM Jason about if what you heard, if you have a company, or you know a company, or you know an owner, or you know somebody who's interested in getting this problem solved, where they're taking their data and they're combining it with, can you say that again, Jason? So in other words, your customer data is in sync with your email, which is in sync with your scheduling, which is in sync with your billing. Is that it?
Yeah, but so right now that's in like a one-off solution that's custom. So we have all the code. We just need that. We're trying to make it more of a SaaS-friendly model. So all of that generic functionality in a way that everyone can use. So right now we're doing a pilot with very bare bones CRM, and I have to be real careful from being a little bit too feature heavy. I like to build features, don't always do the best about making sure that they make sense. So I'm trying to get a little bit of user feedback before I go too crazy. So that's where I'm at. Because right now my business model has been more consulting than trying to be scalable. Consulting is great. It keeps you busy, but it's not very scalable because when you get finished with the work, you have to go find the next client. So I'm trying to kind of more appeal to my heart, and that's to serve other small business owners trying to break out of the corporate grind. And that's kind of where I'm trying to move myself. So just for personal satisfaction. So yeah.
Well, I've recently been accepted into the Innovators Think Tank Incubator Program for a project that I'm developing, and we're going through assumptions right now and testing, and I think maybe some of that could help you. So I'll reach out to you and let you know about the various ways that you go through your assumptions. Then you reach out to people to confirm or deny, test your assumptions, and then build based on the tests that you find out, the real world data that you find out what people need. And I think that that's a really important way to go about, because then you really know what you're building for, because you know that there's really a need there. So if I can help you with that, I'd love to. And ARAMR, how do you pronounce that? Arm? How are you doing? You've been holding your hand up there.
Amr.
How are you? How do you pronounce that?
Amr.
Amr. Amr, how
Yeah.
are you doing? And I see that your hand's up. What would you like to add?
I want to say to Mr. Jason that the solution of your problem is about using agentic AI approaches, like building AI agent or multi-agent approach for your clients. So you have your data set or your data as knowledge base, and you need to interact with it in an intelligent way. So using any SaaS or any traditional ways will not be efficient in your case. So now the trend and the highest level technology is the AI agents. And AI agents simply is about having software can run and automate autonomously. So you set your rules and then let the AI agent interact and handle your problem.
Agree, but the one step that I have to solve is how to connect the database to the language model so it has like relevant access when it needs it. So that's kind of why I'm going down the vector database part, because it will help me index data, because I need to index the data so that whenever I get a prompt, I can quickly pull all the
natural
relevant
language.
data. Do what?
To access your data in natural language way.
Right. Yeah, that's my goal. So, but I guess, yeah. And the data set's big enough that I don't think you would want to run. Sorry, my dog's getting agitated. The there's enough data that you want to have a structured way. So it's almost like you're building a lookup table for your data, and you're not just running a raw query every time you get it. You kind of have a way to make a shortcut to pull the data quicker. That's kind of like the step I'm trying to solve, if that makes sense.
And with the LLMs, you can't trust the LLMs to do what you ask them to do every time. And with the business setting, that was one thing I went through with Grok the other day. I kind of said, was got down to the nitty gritty and said, Grok said, "Oh, I can tell you have 15 followers," and I was like, "No, I have whatever." And then said, "Well, you're lying to me or you're wrong." And then I took a picture of it and then I showed it, but it was for sure certain that it knew what it was talking about. And then after a long period, I said, "So now that you understand what the truth is, will we have this problem again? And please do not give me any synthetic data with the answer." And it said, "I can't, you can't count on these things at this point. So you do have to use other ways besides just going to LLM models with AI agents to ask them, especially if you're doing with databases, to make sure that the answer is consistent. Because with a business, you can't afford for it to not be accurate.
It's a kind of representing data. Mr. Jason mentioned vector database, and in computer science or in AI, vector database is a way of representing the data in mathematical way. So you enter your prompt or ask the agent a question, and then the agent, interpret your natural language into some numeric values, and then compare it with the vector database. So you have to have the two types of databases: the structured one, like Excel, or any kind of structured database like Mongo, as you know. And the other type, or the another type, is the vector database, which you can access and get data from the vector database only using your natural language. So you have to have the two types of databases, even if you are working with AI agents. So LLM involved in very few steps or in very limited, role. So it is not fully autonomous.
Excellent.
Yep, agreed. That's what I'm working on.
So it based on your problem, we customize or we build the agent that fit, and based on your rules and restrictions. Because autonomous AI is quite dangerous. We can't make it 100% autonomous. We have to control it, and it's a matter of your business. It's a matter of your use case, the nature of your problem.
Perfect. Yeah, excellent. It's 4 minutes past the hour. I've got a lot of work to do. I'm sorry to cut you off, but you come back here again. Please, everybody, go to my account and sign up to the newsletter so you can start to get rundowns on our show. Please follow Jason, and if you are a dev and you want to be a member of the Discord server, please DM Jason. He is in charge of taking care of that. He's doing an amazing job, and we're going to have Jason on as a special guest in the next week or so to talk about exactly what he's doing and where he's at with his business, and very excited to talk about that. I see that TVD is here, and Nicholas and Deb, and I see Mr. Vladimir, and there's a lot of Roland and a lot of really great people here today. And thank you for everyone for showing up. Guru Dana, so great to hear from you, as well as De Artes Madero, and then there's Danny and Eero and Jack of all trades. And so I apologize that I'm dyslexic, and I'm really horrible with names sometimes. So please apologize. I apologize. Am I talking to myself? Be quiet. Come on. Hey, all right. That's enough of that. It's been a long day. I got a lot to do. I stay up late and I wake up early. So I think anybody who's involved with AI and sits in front of a computer too long gets a little wacky. So I don't apologize for it in the least. And I'm super happy to be here to be hosting this show with Andy, the AI Biz Hour with Andy and John, sponsored by Virtual Synergy Inc. And please, everybody, I'm going to say it the last time, sign up to my newsletter, join if you go to my account, I have the AI Biz Hour community. This community is going to be strong. It's got legs. It's going places. Things are happening. Things are happening here. Offline, maybe even more than online. So, you got to stick around to find out what's going on. And the more you contribute, the more you talk, and the more you engage and let everybody know who you are and what you're doing, the more opportunities arise. And that's why we're here, for opportunities. And the world is filled with opportunities. But, it takes a certain amount of experience and listening to see them and know what they are when they show up. That's a big skill. That's a big talent. So it's something worth working on. And this is a one shot. All of us, we got one ticket in this life, so let's make the most of it. So thank you again for everybody for showing up. Really, really appreciate it. I see Mr. G is here. It's good to see that you're here. Thank you for coming by. So we're going to close up shop. And I wish I could talk all night long, but maybe at some point I will clone myself into some AI when I know that it can really be me. But then what will that do to me? Will that lessen my value if I double myself? That's something to think about. Maybe I should make the opposite of me. That might be fun. I don't know if I can handle that. But enough of me rambling. So just we're going to close up shop here. Thank you again, Jason. I say follow all of our speakers, follow everybody else who's here, get to know everybody. This is a great group of people. Again, the space is only as good as the people that show up and share. I'm just a facilitator. I'm very humbled that people come here on a consistent basis, and the quality of the people here really blow me away. So it's a wonderful space. And thank you to X and to Elon for creating spaces. I grew up in the day when I used to listen to radio late at night, and you could listen to the AM radio, and I'd be in New York and I'd hear radio stations from all over the country. We don't have that anymore these days, but we got X. And there's something neat and exciting about the theater of the mind. That's what they used to call the radio, theater of the mind. I don't know if anybody's listened to those old radio shows where you hear the horses clonking around and you go, Jack, we got to get the cows. They've gotten loose. Oh, no. That type of stuff. It's always kind of fun. But enough of that. So we'll talk to you all tomorrow. You have a wonderful, wonderful day, and may all your dreams come true, and may you always be positive in a world that's a little wacky, but it's a great place to be. I'm telling you, I'm very optimistic about the future, and I hope you are too. So thank you so much, and we will talk to you tomorrow.